Our next speaker, Nancy Erickson, the book professor, coaches professionals to become authors of high-impact nonfiction books that will establish them as experts, increase their credibility, and help attract a following. She created a step-by-step method. Okay, he's changing hers out. That takes you from your initial idea to mapping and writing your book to a professionally published nonfiction book. All you need is an idea to get started. Nancy Erickson is the owner of 2 book-related businesses, The Book Professor and Stonebrook Publishing, an award-winning nonfiction publishing house. In 2022, she was named a top 10 book coach in the U.S. by the Coach Federation. At this time, I give you the amazing Nancy Erickson.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, I'm two-handed again, like Kathy. Okay, so, there we go. So today I want to talk about how you can build your, I'm on the tape. That good? Okay. And hi to the Zoom people. I see you, Tabitha. Good to see you. Today, I want to talk about how you can build your business by writing a book. So when you write a book, it should do 3 things for you. It should establish you as an expert in your field. It should increase your credibility, and it should help you attract a following. But that only happens if the book is well written. And that's what we're going to talk about, how to build your book and the structure of it so that it lends itself to not only your book, but to other revenue producing products once the book is finished. So, but it has to start with the writing. I mean, if you are issuing a book and it's really poorly written, instead of increasing your credibility, you're trashing it. You know, your books, there's just a lot of steps in professional publishing that both Kathy and I take you through. Writing and editing is where where you need to start. So anyway, so I want to talk about how to write an exceptional book. So there are 2 things that you need to start with that you need to know. First of all, you need to know the purpose of your book. And secondly, you need to know your audience. And what we do when I take my authors through our process is we start off by creating what we call a purpose statement. And it just says the purpose of my book is to, and they fill in that blank. And so if you don't know what the purpose of your book is, we actually, before that, start off with a series of foundational questions that help you to crystallize your message. And so we take all those 12 questions, Steve's smiling because he's been through this, and distill it down into this purpose statement. So the second thing you know is you need to know who's the audience for your book, because you want to know who you're writing to. That's going to affect your style of writing and your message. So when you're determining your audience, you not only want to know who they are, but how are they going to be impacted by receiving your message? And you want to make sure that when you put these 2 things together to create your purpose statement, what this does for you is it's then a measuring stick. You measure everything that you're going to put in your book against this, the purpose and the audience. And if what you're thinking about putting in your book leads your audience to realize the purpose, it's in. If not, set it aside for your next book or something else. Because the truth is, you can't put everything you know in a book. That's just not possible. So we want to target it so that you are able to communicate your message clearly and succinctly to your audience. So as you know, you always need to plan your book. Many start with an outline. That's not what we do. We have a different methodology that I created called, and it's book mapping. And a book map is as a visual representation of everything that's going to be in your book. It's kind of like a mind map. And there's 2 of these. They're cleverly named Map 1 and Map 2. But the Map 1 is really your personal story. And so I use a formula that I teach our authors for telling a story. And it's this: what it used to be like, what happened, what it's like now. That is your typical compare and contrast story. Something was this way, then all this happened, and now it's this way. And so as I am taking authors through the process, I kind of use myself as an example. and what it used to be like. My original career was in high tech. I was a systems engineer for IBM, and I was working for Oracle, and I was trapped in the job that I hated, and I couldn't leave because I was afraid, because I was making so much money. I was afraid to leave that. So the what happened part is what we call your pivotal moment. This is where everything changed. And it may not be a moment. And I often think people change because of one of two things. Either they have like this aha moment and go in a different direction, or something happens to them that forces them to go in a different direction. So for me, my turning point was when my father had been diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor, and we knew he was only going to live about 7 months. And so I quit everything. And I was with my folks until my dad passed away. And when I came home, I'm like, okay, what do I do? I don't have a job. My kids were out of college, so I didn't have the extreme expense and burden of that. And so I thought, well, I will go back to school. I always loved to write. And so I went back to school and got a master's degree in writing, and then was asked to join the faculty at Lindenwood University, where I got my master's degree. And at the same time, I started a small press to publish nonfiction books. So we were getting submissions from people who had 10 minutes. Okay. From people who had fabulous ideas, but they were so poorly written that we couldn't do anything with it. We couldn't edit our way out of it. So I stepped back, created a step-by-step process that would create a pathway for people who weren't writers to become authors. So what it's like now the people I work with are offering hope and help to others. So that's how you tell your story. Your own personal story needs to be part of your book. You need to ingratiate yourself to your readers. They need to know you before they can learn anything about you. So that's how we show you how to write your own story. So that's how we start. The second map is really key, and this is how we plan out your chapters. So what we want to start with in the map 2 is how you communicate your purpose to your audience. So we construct your chapters in problem solution sets. The first thing you're going to do is name all the problems your audience has or is likely to have. What problems do they have? And then what solutions do you offer to these problems? And then we build this out by, putting more flesh on the bones and telling stories, etc., so that when you are finished, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. So that when you're finished, you have a comprehensive visual map of everything that's going to be in your book, every story you're going to tell, every object lesson, every point you're going to make. It's all there on the map, so that when you start writing, there's no such thing as writer's block, because writer's block is just sitting there thinking, I don't know what I'm going to write, And writers are funny. I do the same thing. You fiddle fart around and have to get the right cup of coffee and the right temperature and the laundry folded and all that kind of stuff. But by the time you get your butt in the seat, you're going to know what to do. And that is gets you light years ahead. This is writing your book. The planning process is writing your book. And the time will come for you to sit down and put your fingers on the keyboards and actually flesh it out. So, but there's more to the book. And that book, because of the way we've structured it in the problem solution sets, can become the launch pad for you to deliver that message across multiple venues. Because here's the thing, it's really not about the book. It's about getting your message out into the world where it can do its work. And we know everybody's not going to read a book, right? You know that. So do you want to miss those people? I don't think so. So what happens is this is a process that we take you all the way through to, if you want to repurpose your material into other revenue producing products, you can. So you should be able to take every chapter of your book, because it's a single topic, a single solution that you're offering the readers, and repurpose that. How many of you are speakers? So now if you've got 15 chapters, you've got 15 potential topics to speak on. You can offer workshops or seminars. Nobody pays for blogs, but do you need blog material? It's really a rich resource that you've already constructed in your book. People don't pay for those either, but if you're trying to establish yourself as an expert and you want to have a podcast, that's another incredible way to reach a set of readers who don't read. So anyway, so in online courses, I mean, you can develop a different online course or video training or whatever, but the key is the structure from the beginning to be able to take what you know and deliver it across multiple venues so that you build your business, build your brand, build your credibility all along the way. So, ta-da! Who recognizes this handsome guy? Steve is doing something with his partner, Terry Lammers, that is really important. They are building a series of books. These are hardback. They're really nice. You see them back there. So further, the way we constructed in problem solution sets, maybe you want a chicken soup for the soul, your ideas, and you want to say, okay, and this is what they're doing. What you don't know, what you don't know. A guy for getting most of the sales of their business, or building $1 million staging business, selling it. They have different topics. We've got 2 more that are coming soon. Say you have a couple of different audiences for your book. I'm thinking an example of a financial planner. You know, they're trying to establish their expertise. And so they may have the same problem solution sets for different audiences. Financial planning for young married couples, financial planning for retirement, financial planning for whatever. But they use the same structure, just change the stories. So there's a lot of opportunity based on the structure. So again, when you write a book, it has to be really, really well done. And if you're working with Kathy or me, that is going to happen because you want it to establish yourself as an expert. You want to increase your credibility and you want to build a following. So we junked up your tables. I've got junk on your tables too. So you can take my card or the little pamphlet, or if you, we offer 30-minute consultations for free. This is my phone number. You can just send me a text if anything I said piqued your interest. Am I on time? Yeah, yay!
Thank you, Nancy. Nancy, can you stay up here? And Kathy, can you join us up here? Because while the panelists start to get ready in just a short time here, we're going to let you answer your questions now. How's that? Okay. Now, if you're asking a question online, please make sure we get your information. But if you're answering a question out here, make sure you have a microphone because otherwise they can't hear you. Okay. So who has a question out here for either of them? Okay. Hang on, get the mic. Oh.
In the ROS, in the beginning, so what does the S stand for? Solution?
Solutions, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Move this way a little bit. You're in the
Notice.
for Nancy. Okay. Who else has a question?
That means we did a really good job.
They did an excellent
Or else
job.
they're totally uninterested.
Do you always suggest that the book come first? Or is it easier for some people that you work with to do like an audio version versus a print book or something like that? Either of you, both of you, I guess.
I'd like to answer that. So it kind of ties into what we were saying in our groups. We always start with the book. The book is the source, it's the mothership, if you will. When you do an audiobook, it's someone reading what you've written, and you want to make sure it's gone through all the editing, all the proofreading, everything. So one other thing about audiobooks, I like the trifecta of authors producing paperback or hardback, ebook and audiobook. Don't ever try to read your own audiobook. That is really a terrible idea, and I'll tell you why. Because you guys are laughing because you probably did it and you totally did it well. But here's the thing. The people who read audiobooks are vocal performers. It's a profession. And your diction and the word separation and the accent, oh, sorry, getting rid of your accent if you guys don't have any, but it's hard work to sit in a studio and read an audiobook. And we never, ever suggest that our authors do it. We have, we introduce them to voice actors who can do the job for them. So.
Kathy, you have anything you want to add?
I was just going to add, we did some work with Martha Bex. She's a motivational speaker. And if you ever buy her audio, if you've ever heard her speak, she has a very high pitched, mousy kind of voice. But if you buy her audiobooks, it's not her. But I applaud the person that is reading her book for her, because they have been able to adapt and get her same cadence. And that it's an amazing thing to hear. So it's not because you want to, well, I'll stop there. I'll stop there.
You want to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, I've written one book. In fact, Nancy knows about this. I guess others do. As much as I would like to write another one, I don't think I can subject myself to that torture again. And so what I've been thinking about is writing what I will call mini books, like, 24 pages long or something like that. And I just wonder, is there a really good market for that? And how do you really leverage those kinds of publications?
I would say and I'll let Kathy add her 2 cents. You always, like I said, you need to know the purpose of the book and the audience. I mean, you determine if there's an audience for it. Are people asking you for this material? And the other thing is that well, actually, that's all I have to say. You just have to go back to the purpose and the audience.
I would just add, you want to keep in mind that if you want your book distributed through Amazon and Ingram, there's an 18-page minimum. If you want your book in libraries, there's a 50-page minimum. So keep that in the bank.
Thank you, ladies, both so much. I have read a book. I have not written one. And I wanted to ask a little bit more specifically about the process. If we were to work with one of you, you go through, you talked about the steps of the purpose of the book and so on and so forth. The businesses that you do, is that the editing, and Kathy, you mentioned that you teach them, the authors, how to publish their own books so that they keep all of the royalties. Can you touch a little bit more just on what that process looks like?
Can we start this one?
Yeah.
So yes, we set each of our authors up as an author as publisher. And I think you do the same thing, right? Similar. And what that means, though, is that we function a lot like a ghost publisher. And we're going to teach you enough that you need to know to go out there. We set up all your online accounts with the preferred vendors. And then depending on where you are, some people just have an idea and come to us, and then we pair you either with a ghostwriter or a writing coach. One of our writing coaches, what they do is, this is for authors who like to be involved in the writing of the book. So we pair them with an author, with a writing coach who is familiar with genre and their topic. And then, or you may come to us and the book has already been through editing, already been through proofreading. And then we start basically wherever you are and help you finish it, get it designed, laid out, and uploaded so that it's on Amazon and available in bookstores around the planet.
I think whoever you work with, you're going to end up with a high quality book. Our processes are a little different. If somebody is coming to us and they just have an idea, or they have some scribblings or something like that, I'm not used to stage direction.
Or stand.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I kind of move around. If you just come with an idea, we start with the process, that whole process that I just told you. Stoneberg Publishing is a nonfiction publishing house. So we have other authors who we don't help them write their book that come through the publishing house, and they already have manuscripts that are completed. So in that case, we start with a manuscript review where we give them feedback on what they've got and what they need to shore up in order to be publishable. And then we take them through our publishing house process.
I have to say also, I just want to add, because I had this conversation yesterday with an author, every author, when they say their manuscript is finished, they're lying to themselves. Our job is to take that manuscript and make you look good. You don't want to put a manuscript out that hasn't been touched by an editor along somewhere, a professional editor, not your neighbor's high school kid
Exactly.
that's in
Thank you.
journalism. Yeah.
So I just have another thing to say is that I think when people truly self-publish their book and they don't have someone like Kathy to help them, they just do it themselves. Self-publishing doesn't mean do it yourself. It means you're in charge of the process and of getting the right professionals in place so that you can publish a professional product. And a lot of people give me their self-published books where they didn't have that. And it's quite impressive that they've written a book. That is not hard to do. But I got to tell you, I can spot it from across the room. And in some cases, I think to myself, please don't ever give this to anyone else because
We don't say that, but we think
I know,
it. Yeah.
but you spent all this time, all this money, and you ended up with that. And it does not make you look as good as you are. It doesn't increase your credibility. It trashes it. And so publishing is a very, very, very old industry with lots of conventions that there's no way that if you haven't been in it, you would know those things. So you're going to be spending a lot of time, a lot of emotion, a lot of money regardless. And it's just a great idea to just
Do it
do it once. Yeah.
Yeah,
And do it right and make yourself proud.
Great job, ladies. I just wanted you to build on her question and talk to the audience a little bit about the time investment they can expect when writing and producing a book.
Oh, man, that's a huge variable. We have worked with a doctor who took 5 years. We've also worked with some of you may know Tessa Greenspan.
Yeah.
So we worked with Tessa. She did not want to write it. She just wanted to tell us her story. So we paired her with an editor and recorded everything through Zoom, translated it, and then took it apart and put it back together. That in a feed itself, that was about 6 months, but we had 3 editors working on it at the same time. So, yeah.
For us, when you're going through our process, it takes a year to write your book. It's about another 4 months for the publication process, unless you're Steve Denny. And Steve argued with me when we first got started. He's like, why would it take a year? Why does it take a year? And I said, well, Steve, how long do you think it should take? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, well, it takes a year if you do the work. Of course, Steve was in the advanced group and it took him 4 years. So
Authors have a tendency to overestimate deadlines or underestimate deadlines. Or yeah,
Maybe yes, no, no questions.
while they're thinking, I do have one thing to add. And this happens about once a year where someone will be referred to us who has purchased 4,000, 5,000, you pick a number, books, and they're sitting in their basement. And now they want to know, how do I market my book? Please don't do that. I mean, that's the shortest response. And this poor guy's not even on Amazon, and he's not even on Ingram, and we're having to backtrack, and it's going to end up costing him a lot more money had he not gone to somebody that knew the industry and how to make it happen. So just don't. I love printers. I grew up in the printing industry.
you just don't need one.
Yeah, a lot of them have, changed their business model in order to accommodate the publishing industry, and they will call themselves publishers. Publishing is an unregulated business, so you could call yourself a publisher, and depending on who you're selling to, you can tell them whatever you want. So it's buyer be aware, not as much beware.
Any other questions? Other questions? Anything online that we missed here? Don't want to miss anyone. Okay, thank you, Kathy and
Thank you.
Nancy, so much.